1337.
La 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 la. It's the Smurfs. That's right. Yeah, we're going Smurfs this time, and we're doing something a little different today. This is Mouse on Radio 1337 on UrbanizeRadio.com, the sound of artists. And we are not in the studio today, and we're kind of doing something remotely, kind of doing a little something different. But you guys out in Radio Land will not be able to know or really care what's going on. But I do have Mr. Tengu. What's up, Tengu?
Not too much. What's
Okay. So what else is going on? We have a couple people that are missing today. We have, well, actually, we don't have Miss Vixen today, nor do we have Mr. Deacon.
It's a sad thing too, because ever since Oda Sensei got sick, Vixen's been out in Japan trying to nurse him back to health, feeding him ice cream at his bedside.
Yeah.
She's like steadying his hand so he can keep drawing One
Yeah,
Piece. It's amazing the dedication that some nerds have.
She's pretty nerdy.
Yeah.
But Deacon is also pretty nerdy, but he decided not to join us today. But we do have a very special guest with us again for the third or fourth or how many times we've had her.
It's the third time.
Miss Raina. Go and say hi, Miss Raina.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, and you?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing excellent right now.
Oh, wow.
So we're in an hour format right now, and we're here in Southern California, and we are going to be doing some stuff a little bit differently. And I hope you guys like it because you guys really don't have a say in it, but we're just glad that you're with us right now. So in here, Radio 1337, we have a bunch of things, but we're going to start with the news. Okay, so the only real news I have right now is the big, huge rescinding of the announcement that Xbox One is going to have DRM stuff on their console, but they're saying now that they're not going to have any. What do you guys think of that?
I think the hammer came down, and it's pretty funny.
Now, here's something weird. Do you think that it's something that Microsoft planned, or do you think that it's something that they are actually listening to the people? Because right now, I'm not really even sure that this is a good or a bad thing right now, because a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, Microsoft is going back on their word, ha ha ha, we want blah blah blah. But is that really a bad thing? I mean, is it bad that a company actually listens to their customers?
It's not a bad thing. Like I like the idea that they took that criticism to heart and actually modified their plans for it. I mean, that was one of the main things. Like all the restrictions and all the like kind of, not to sound like paranoid, but like all the Big Brother kind of things, like the Kinect always watching you, even though that's still kind of a problem. I know there's apparently some legislation things that may actually make that Kinect issue like moot as well. But
well, let's go back and let me read to you the statement that Microsoft president of Interactive Entertainment, Don Maddock, said, and what he said to the news. He said, last week at E3, the excitement, creativity, and future of our industry was on display for a global audience. For us, the future comes in the form of Xbox One, a system designed to be the best place to play games this year and for many years to come. As is our heritage with Xbox, we designed a system that could take full advantage of advances in technology in order to deliver a breakthrough in gameplay and entertainment. We imagined a new set of benefits such as easier roaming, family sharing, and new ways to try and buy games. We believe in the benefits of a connected digital future. Since the unveiling of our plans for Xbox One, my team and I have heard directly from many of you, read your comments, and listened to your feedback. I would like to take an opportunity today to thank you for your assistance in helping us to reshape the future of Xbox One. You told us how much you love the flexibility you have today with your games delivered on disc. The ability to lend, share, and resell these games at your discretion is of incredible importance to you. Also important to you is the freedom to play offline for any length of time, anywhere in the world. So, today I'm announcing the following changes to Xbox One and how you can play, share, lend, and resell your games exactly as you do today on Xbox 360. Here's what that means. An internet connection will not be required to play offline Xbox One games. After a one-time system setup with a new Xbox One, you can play any disc-based game without ever connecting online again. There is no 24-hour connection requirement, and you can take your Xbox One anywhere you want and play your games just like the 360. Trade in, lend, resell, gift, and rent disc game. Let me start that again. Trade in, lend, resell, gift, and rent disc-based games just like you do today. There will be no limitations to using and sharing games. It will work just as it does today on the 360. In addition to buying the disc from a retailer, you can also download games from Xbox Live on the day of release. If you choose to download your games, you will be able to play them offline just like you do today. Xbox One games will be playable on any Xbox One console. There will be no regional restrictions, which I think is
that's
cool,
really cool.
Actually. These changes will impact some of the scenarios we previously announced for Xbox One. The sharing of games will work as it does today. You will simply share the disc. Downloaded titles cannot be shared or resold. Also, similar to today, playing disc-based games will require that the disc be in the tray. We appreciate your passion, support, and willingness to challenge the assumptions of digital licensing and connectivity. While we believe that the majority of people will play games online and access the cloud for both games and entertainment, we will give consumers the choice of both physical and digital content. We have listened and we have heard loud and clear from your feedback that you want the best of both worlds. Thank you again for your candid feedback. Our team remains committed to listening, taking feedback, and delivering a great product for you later this year. And that's the statement. That's pretty long, I know.
Wow.
And I think if we were to make any kind of opinion based on what rumors are going out right now, whether or not we think this is good or bad, I think we should, just like I've done, make sure that we've heard it straight from the horse's mouth, exactly what he said before we start discussing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I think that it's going to be a fight. I remember a couple episodes ago, I remember saying that, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. And this is exactly what is happening. I knew that, I didn't know, but I kind of had this assumption that things were going to change. And I didn't know how they were going to change, but apparently this is how they're going to change. What do you guys think?
It was definitely interesting to see them rescind like a lot of the stuff that they'd announced, especially when they were so firm on it in the beginning.
They seem really, really firm on it.
Yeah, like they had you wouldn't have assumed that they would have backed down in any way, shape, or form.
But you got to see where they're coming from. I mean, they wanted to protect the game company's rights. And with the game company's rights, they wanted to make sure that the game companies were getting everything that they deserved, and rightfully so. And it kind of hurt the game industry, I think, on the level that should this have gone through, companies like GameStop and like GameFly would almost be completely out of business. You know what I mean?
Well, they lose essentially, I'd say maybe like 40% of their like new games that they'd be able to do, because it's like you'd still have Wii, so that's like a 20% margin right there, and then the other 40 would be PlayStation 4. So PlayStation 4 and Wii would become their main market. But who's to say like how much a lack of Xbox would be able would impact them?
What do you think, Raina?
Well, at least people will have that freedom. There's no mandatory connection needed. So I think it just pisses a lot of people off if there's restrictions.
It's kind of funny how like Xbox really tries to protect their investments, and yet it's the consumer that's telling them they shouldn't do that. It's funny that there's that kind of dynamic there where it's like, yeah, you want to make sure that the game companies are getting all their worth, but then by doing so, you're kind of like edging out the consumer, and it's just kind of this weird tug of war that's happening.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to find a good middle ground on, because on one hand, like, I completely understand the need to protect. I mean, I'm coming from like more of a music industry standpoint and like film industry kind of thing, and being able to keep yourself from losing out income and other stuff from, be it like downloads or just people waiting until like way later to purchase it or even see it for free. Like any of those things that ends up losing the company money, which loses the production company's money, which then loses jobs and other stuff like that. I mean, that hits home with me. But at the same time, I really didn't care for all the restrictions that were placed, even though in a way that's kind of for my benefit as well, coming from this industry.
Well, the funny thing is that for people like me that live in an internet-rich area, a lot of these things, these restrictions, don't really mean much to me. I mean, 24 hours. I mean, I'm always online. My house is completely like internet, Wi-Fi, and I don't really need to worry about the online requirement. I mean, I don't share my games with friends. I
think one thing is that because Xbox Live, like, you're paying for it, that was one of the things that probably was an issue, because then having to pay for Xbox Live just to be able to play your games, without like, any sort of like multiplayer. You're just wanting to do the single player, but you have to be online at least once a day to do it. You're still having to pay that extra Xbox Live fee. So that was one thing that was irking a lot of people. Yeah,
but one thing that really surprised me is the region lock thing. All the region locks have been dropped, which means that, there's a lot of games that are made in other countries, specifically Japan. And Japan releases games all the time in 360 format that never get played over here. Right? Now you're opening up a whole new market for Japanese games that could be easily played without restriction in the United States. And I can see a whole new flood of games coming in from Japan or even Germany or whatever, just to fill up the Xbox kind of library.
Do you think they might even port some old titles, like older like Nintendo and like earlier like console generation stuff, like back from like the late 80s, early 90s, like RPGs and other things that never made it out here?
Well, I'm not really sure. They may try,
because like that'd be a lot of good like Xbox Live content just to download.
Well, depending on the kind of game it is, you know what I mean, and the demand for the game. Like I don't think they would be able to do any like Nintendo, because they'd have to pull the rights from Nintendo, all that stuff. But it's something that is going to impact the game industry, and we've had region locks forever, and now we're not going to have region locks. It's like kind of they're icing on the cake to Sony. They're like, F you, Sony, for trying to juke us, on this whole DRM thing. And Sony, went on the kill when they found out that Xbox One was doing all these DRM stuff. They just went in for the kill with all the videos and all that stuff.
Like, it was to the point of being immature, but I still loved it.
But you got to be professional in this, you know what I mean? It just seemed like they got the knife and they jabbed it into Xbox and they twisted it, and they just kept twisting it just to
Yeah, because that was the thing. Like last week on the show, I was talking like I loved everything they were doing, and in hindsight, I see that it was childish in some parts, and in others, it was kind of over the top. But it still was enjoyable. I can't lie that I was having fun with that.
Well, I think a lot of people laughed at it, and to Xbox's expense. But we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but we're going to take a break right now. This is Radio 1337 on urbanniceradio.com, the sound of artists. This is Mouse from Radio 1337, and you're listening to Urban Nights Radio, the sound of artists. And we're back, Radio 1337, Urban Nights Radio, the sound of artists. We're here with Tengu and Reina here. We're talking about the Xbox One and their supposed rescinding of announcement. They said that they were going to initiate some kind of DRM software, and they have just recently took that back. And what is their stance? I mean, what is our stance on it now? I mean, DRM and their announcements seem to be such a big spike into the gaming community, and now that Xbox has taken that out, there have been varying reports on, well, Xbox, I still hate them. And there have been announcements like, well, Xbox is really cool for listening to their consumers. What do you guys think about that?
It still hasn't changed my opinion on purchasing the One, because I'm not 100% sold on it. Like, I've always been a PlayStation person, and it was Halo, essentially, that brought me over to, 360. And then I just kind of stuck with it. I didn't feel like buying two consoles, and
there's actually both of them are really, really solid consoles. I mean, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 are very solid consoles. They just had I think the PlayStation needed a little more time to kind of gear up, and
there were very few exclusive titles that made me want to purchase the PS3.
Now it's tons of really good exclusive titles. And pretty good franchise titles too, actually, like the whole Uncharted title, Resistance, really good.
I still haven't. I demoed Uncharted, like the new one that came out for the Vita. I got to play around with that a little bit, and it was interesting. And I do like that whole connectivity thing, like going from Vita to PS3 and then back and forth. Like I've never really done ever since Game Gear, Game Gear was the last thing I really focused on.
You mean actually being able to get your game and then slap it into the...
Yeah, I played Pokemon all the time, but it was about... I stuck more at home with it, but Game Gear, I was in the car in the back seat, little kid, just playing Shinobi and Sonic Triple Trouble. It hasn't really meant enough to me to get a handheld console, but the Vita was a really impressive piece of hardware.
Too bad a lot of people weren't agreeing with you.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
I know. PSP and Vita, both of them just seemed interesting, but...
Doesn't it cost a lot, too?
I think that was one of the reasons why it was so, detrimental, and it didn't do very well, was the pricing.
It was 200, 300?
It may have been 300. I really don't know.
Because I think a lot of it also had... DS.
I think a lot of it has to do with the reputation that Sony had with their handhelds before. And the PSP, straight up, when the first PSP came out, I thought it was a solid system. I think it needed some work. But then every iteration after that was just Sony just trying to claw out of the hole they had dug with the whole UMD system. It just didn't work out. And it's really sad because I wanted some competition in the handheld area.
Because Nintendo just dominates it.
Oh, they completely dominate. They don't. Not only they dominate, they just they stomp everything that comes around. I mean, the Gizmondo, right, came around, stomped that. I mean, the Nokia, stomped that. I mean, the Game Gear. And the Game Gear was probably was solid too. The Neo Geo was probably the one that had the best, contention, but they just didn't have enough money for advertising. It was probably it was a really, really good system, but I think they were just falling behind. Nintendo is just I think if they just drop their console and just concentrate solely on handheld and mobile gaming apps, I think they have a future there instead of consoles. But that's just me.
I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the 3DS though, but 3D's always been kind of a gimmick.
Have you played with it?
I played with it a little bit, and I was one of those people that it bugs me to the point where I could get a headache if I played it for too long. So I'd be having the 3D off anyway. So I'm just paying for an upgraded DS. I didn't buy it, obviously.
Rena, did you ever play with the 3DS?
Yes. at times it does give me a headache, but then just seeing the size of the screen, big difference. And a lot of people, a lot of guys mainly, they have bigger hands, so it accommodates the size of the handheld game, the Nintendo.
I picked up this thing at E3, and I know we're kind of going off the side here, but it's called the MOGA, or whatever. MOBA. I don't know.
MOBA?
I don't know. It's
Is
this
MOBA just a
thing.
genre?
It's like, it looks like a controller, but at the top it has this kind of flip top, and it has this kind of hook, right? And what you do is you stick your phone onto it, whether it be an iPhone or like an Android phone, and you get the app from their store, app from the store. And then it will wirelessly, if you actually the controller takes like 2 AA batteries, the controller will communicate with your phone, and it will be like
Is it like
little,
Bluetooth?
yeah, I think so, and it will be like a little
Like a
screen,
signal?
and
A
you
screen.
use your controller, just like, and it's really comfortable, and it's the
Okay, that is awesome.
yeah, I actually have it here in my, I think I'm not really sure. I'll have to show you guys, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because like I'm thinking right now. I was just talking about Sonic a couple minutes ago. Like
Oh, we
any of the
got Sonic.
apps,
It's amazing.
like you can't play them properly because you try and like move, and then you know how like the slight like changing of the controller, like the directional pad, like it would just cause you to like spin out. It's like you can't really play like any of the Sonic ports to iPhone or Android properly because of like the sensitivity on the touchscreen. It's just like it's impossible.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of games on my iPad and my Android, and when any kind of game requires a directional control, it just fails, and it sucks because you really want that tactile, you know, left, right, up, down.
Yeah.
And it's really comforting to know that when you press right, you press right. But if you're on a phone that's touchscreen, it's like, what was it, right? And there's no like physical, indicator, feedback. Like the ridges on the D-pad actually are kind of, you need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I want to hold on just a second, and I want to try and pull out this whole MOBA thing.
Hey, this is Tengu from Radio1337, and you are listening to Urban Nights Radio, the sound of artists.
Okay, and we're back, and I actually finally found this thing. It's called a MOGA, M-O-G-A, and they didn't pay me to advertise for this, but I ended up getting one of these little thingies, talking about handhelds. And like I said before, it is this little controller thing, and look, you see this, right?
I'm like, that thing is it's so cute,
Really
but
small.
it's so cool.
It's a controller. I mean, literally is a physical controller. It's got two analog sticks.
It's
got
like the size of your hand.
yeah. Well, yeah.
It's smaller than your hand. It's like you're holding a kitten.
4 buttons, X, Y, A, B. It's got a select, start, and it's got a pairing button, and it's got
looks like
shoulder buttons.
Yeah, it
too.
has 2 triggers.
2 trigger buttons too. Not bad. My wife actually got Sonic here, and just started playing it, and it's the same thing from the Sega game. It's just straight up same thing. She has it on her phone. But the MOGA, yeah, you gotta
How much
look at
was
those
it?
things. It was free 93 for me.
Free 90.
Free 93.
Well, okay,
Wow.
if someone was to go to a retail store or
Yeah.
to the
How much
MOGA
would that
website to
cost?
purchase it, yeah. How much is it going to cost them?
It looks
'Cause
like
I
it's
want
gonna
that.
be about anywhere between $30 and $40. Wow!
No, what?
Wow! I got it for
Wow.
free.
Dude, I am totally getting one of
This
those
is so
tonight.
cool. But obviously, you'd have to buy the games, and
Well, I mean, I've already got the games. That's what we were just talking about. I
well,
just need to be able to play them properly now, and that is what's going to facilitate it.
well, you could look more into it, and I'll let you kind of check this out for a little bit. It's kind of cool.
Does it work with iPad also?
Not sure. It's an Android system. Well, yeah, actually, it works for. Let's look at the website. I should be
What
getting.
is it, just moga.com?
I should be getting like mogaanywhere.com. I should be getting like money or something like that. I should be getting like free stuff for this. So about Moga, right? The Pocket controller is the one I have, and there's actually a Pro controller that looks more like an Xbox 360 controller. Fully featured console-style Android controller. Looks like it's just Android.
It's just Android.
Well, looks like it. Oh, sorry.
This thing.
Sorry, bud. I don't see anything about Apple. It may be for Apple, but I'm not really sure.
Man, it better be for Apple. Apple's like killing the market right now. Come on.
There's free games for this thing, too.
But then that's all they've been doing, killing the market.
Yeah, but it works. They do a good job of it. I mean, come on. I was a PC guy before I started going to college. And ever since coming and doing production, Mac it works better than PC. Like, PC is so much better for, like, gaming and for other things where, like, customization is good. But when it comes to Mac, it can't compare. Like, Mac, everything flows better on it. Photoshop, Premiere, Final Cut, Pro Tools. I mean, anything that Mac supports, it just works better for some reason.
You know why? It's because they have complete control over everything. And, I'm not trying to say that as like a joke or anything, but it's like Apple is very, very meticulous when it comes to their products. And each of their products has a very specific serial code, and they know exactly where all their Macs are at one time. And even though we kind of trash our Macs or do whatever we want with our, hardware, each and every single piece of hardware that Mac makes, they have tracked, to the letter. And it's a good thing because, if viruses happen to come around, it's very easy for them to fix because they have total control over their hardware and their software. But, I digress. I'll have to send a letter to Moga and say, hey, check this out. We did a little segment on your little device because I got it for free at E3. And, they'll go and cheer and probably give me some more stuff that maybe we can give away in our next show.
Either that or, they'll completely hate on you because I'm the one who's, like, being all angry about it. I guess I'm supposed to be the dick in this. Yeah, you said MOBA.
I said MOBA
also.
for a while, and it's actually MOBA.
It's like the League of Legends console right there for you. League of Legends on Android. You heard it here, radio1337.com, the sound of artists.
It's a mobile, it's a massively online battle arena. What is it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. I'm like, I just work on this stuff.
All right, we're going to be taking a break, and this is Radio 1337, Urban Nights Radio, the sound of artists. On break.
Hey, this is Randall Rookhill Holcomb from Wargaming.net League North America, and you're listening to Radio 1337 here on Urban Nights Radio, the sound of tanks.
Okay, we're back, and I believe that this show is progressive. As we go through the show, we learn more about the stuff. And you got something to say there, Mr. Tengu?
Yes, I do. Kids at home listening out there in Radioland, research is important, and not flying off the handle is another important thing. Reading an article here at WWDC, it looks like it was announced that they are partnering. Apple is partnering with Logitech and Moga to bring the controller to that platform as well. So looks like I'm a dick and Moga is awesome.
No, you've always been a dick.
So I'm saying my statement holds true then.
Okay.
I'm a dick. And
Anyway,
Moga's awesome. Thank you, Moga. I'm looking forward to purchasing your product.
and now for Mouse's rant. Okay, this is
Do
Mouse.
I need to make a opening for
Yeah,
that?
I need you to make an opening for that because we don't have any right
It's
now.
going to be like screaming for
yeah, it's got to be screaming.
okay, 20
screaming
minutes of
and
screaming
gnashing of
and
teeth.
then gnashing of teeth.
Yes, gnashing of teeth. I don't know how you can make that a sound, but
I'll
gnash
find
teeth.
a way.
Okay.
I'll find a way.
So my biggest rant today is why GameStop employees shouldn't be at E3. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that love GameStop. I like GameStop. I like to go into GameStop, and the one nearest to me has a couple of cute girls that work there. That's okay. It's cool.
Course.
Yeah, of course. It's cool. It's cool with me. I like to go in there for my games. But the question arises, should they be at E3? Now, I understand that GameStop absolutely needs to be there because they need to make the deals behind closed doors with the publishers in order for them to, get distributing rights for the holiday season. And that's the reason why E3 is there. But there are a lot of people that I saw this year that were just regular employees, assistant managers or whatever that, are at E3. And it kind of makes me feel, or it kind of just as a whole makes me feel like, why are they even here? I mean, they work part-time, right? Most of them work part-time.
Well, if they're managers, they're probably not part-time.
Well, if their managers are not working part-time, I mean, this is not terminal career for them. You know what I mean? It's not something that they do like 50, 60, 70 hours a week like, pretty much all developers do. They work 50, 60, 70 hours a week on a product, only to be in a line for like 2 or 3 hours, knowing that there are 5 or 6 or 7, 8 GameStop employees that are right in front of them. It's just like, they don't need to be in there. I think that I can understand if you're working at a GameStop and you are pursuing a career in gaming. That's cool, right? But too many times I've seen so many people that are from Best Buy, GameStop, whatever, Fry's, or mom and pop store or whatever, and they think it's their right to be at E3. Some of their arguments are well, you know what? They are the end of the retail chain, and they're the people that's supposed to, give the information to the consumers. What kind of information can you give to the consumers that you can't get on the internet? You know what I mean? You can get all the information you need off the internet. Let the big boys play at E3, and let the GameStop people stay at home. What do you guys think? That's right. You guys don't have nothing to think because I totally just destroyed all your arguments actually.
Now, I was on the opposite end of that debate that we had back in episode 2.
Yeah.
But on this, I get what you're saying, at least with them saying they're the last line in the chain, but really people are going to be going to the internet. I don't really rely on people at Best Buy or Walmart, GameStop, wherever to tell me about the game. I'm going to look up trailers, I'm going to look up gameplay,
Exactly.
I'm going to look up articles, and a lot of them are doing that as well just to get their information. So it is kind of irrelevant in that sense, at least.
Okay.
That being said, I still like the idea that we had proposed of a modification to E3 that created more of a retail consumer edition and then a industry edition, a 3 days where it's just for people who have been working in the industry, who have been putting in those man hours, and then a similar 3 days where it's just bring in the consumers, bring in the retail, bring in all the laymen who are going to be coming in and learning about stuff.
And I think that would be fine because that's how
it would be fine.
That's how Tokyo Game Show is
right,
working
but
out.
it would also be, that's doubling their cost, which I know is next to impossible for them to even consider, because then you're essentially saying, okay, well, everything we did day 1 through 3, we're having to copy paste over to 4 through 6, and the only things that more than likely wouldn't be copied would be any of the E3 after parties and stuff like that. So you can, negate those costs, but just imagine doubling up the amount of swag they're going to give away,
Well, they
doubling
shouldn't
up
even need to give out the swag. Well, I mean, they already did something like that. It was called E for All, and it sucked. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, it didn't do very well at all. I mean, like, people went, and people were like,
What were they giving out?
Huh?
What were they giving out as a swag?
Well, they tried to make E for All was retaliation to E3 moving over to the Santa Monica airport in 2006 and 2007, and they were trying to give this feel of E3 to the consumer, and they created this thing called E for All. And for the most part, E for All sucked. It didn't even do very well, and didn't do very well so much that it only had 1 year, or maybe 2 years, and that was it.
Did you go to it at all?
Absolutely not. No way. No. I'm an industry professional. I would do that stuff. I go up there. I drink my tea with my pinky in the air. That's
wow.
right. Sipping my code, right? My game code.
Your
That's
code.
right. Yeah. Anyway, and that's Mouse's rant. That's all I got for now.
The end of his foo-foo.
Okay, so
Hey guys, this has been Mr. Bitternickel from the North American Star League, and you're listening to Radio 1337 here on Urban Knights Radio, the sound of esports.
Okay, we're back, and now we're going to go into our new segment, and I'm going to do this because we're now doing an hour, and I've wanted to do this for a long time because I honestly believe gamers are gamers to the end of time, and I honestly think that board games are also a good way of just people interacting with each other. I think there's a social element, and there is a challenging element that people don't really see in board games, and I think it was the name has been tarnished because of games like Candyland and like Monopoly, where people thought it was cool and was cool for a little bit until it was just really frustrating. And so I think, board games have had a really bad name over the past like 10 or 15 years, but recently they've been really, there's been a huge upsurge in games with all kinds of different themes and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start reviewing board games like one at a time. I'm going to start going into games like Dominion and like Ascension and a bunch of other card board games or whatever. And, hopefully, you can go out to your local store and you can check them out and Anyway, so the first game I'm going to do right now is called Lords of Waterdeep. And it's a game that's primarily based on Wizards of the Coast franchise Dungeons and Dragons. And when you get the game, to get the box, it's actually kind of intimidating because it's kind of a large box. But inside is a really, really deep game. And it's not something that is that shouldn't be taken lightly, but it shouldn't be taken too seriously either, It's a game that's takes about 5 people to play. It should take about an hour to play. The great thing is that it's very structured so that there's a definite beginning. You know exactly where you are in the game and a definite end in this game. So have you guys heard of this game at all? No.
No. Is that like pretty standard for a lot of games where it's like at least an hour into the game?
Well, lot of games. There's a lot of games right now that are more than an hour or 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Games like Arkham Horror, games like Battlestar Galactica, games like Eclipse. Really, really huge games. But this one runs about an hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And how do you build your character?
Well, there actually isn't. There are cards called lords, and each lord has a different objective. And so, what you do is you take a card secretly, and take a lord card secretly, and it tells you what you can build or what you can, the quests you can have or complete in order to get bonus points at the end of the game. So you're not really creating characters. You're basically playing a lord. You're trying to get as many victory points as possible. You're building houses. But the thing is, here's the thing. During your turn, the only thing you do is you either assign an agent, which means you place one of your blocks, your characters, onto a house, and then you basically get all the benefits of the house. Or you complete a quest. That's all. That's all you do. And with that, simple as it may be, there's a lot of real deep gameplay because there's only so many houses that are out, and it gives certain benefits, right? Certain benefits may be like you get to earn, 2 warriors or 2 clerics or whatever, which are represented by little colored blocks. And you need these color blocks to complete quests, which you can, get during the game.
Was that the objective of the game?
Yeah, the objective was to get as many victory points as possible over the course of 8 complete turns. Now, during the course of 8 turns, you have more than one agent, and basically you assign one agent, and then the move passes on. They assign an agent, and then it goes to you until nobody has agents left, and then the round ends. And then what happens is that you go into the second round, then you go a third round, and so forth until the 8th round goes. And after the 8th round, that's where you determine the victory points.
Okay. And to complete the quest.
To complete the quest, you actually have to have, first of all, you have to have enough. It'll tell you the requirement on the quest. It'll either say you need 2 clerics, 4 warriors, and a smuggler or whatever. I think that's one of the things. I think it's a thief or whatever. But they're represented in colored blocks. So you don't have to know which one they are. You just have to have 2 whites, a purple, and a black. You know what I mean? And they make it really simple. And that's kind of the myth that people think that Dungeons and Dragons have this really deep gameplay, and you have to know the whole thing about D&D. You really don't have to know anything about D&D. You just have to want to play this. It's what they call a Euro game, which means that you're not directly involved with attacking someone else as a player. You're basically just playing your own kind of little path, and you're just trying to get as many points as possible. You might want to check it out, Lords of Waterdeep. It's actually made by Wizards of the Coast, and it's in a pretty large box. And it's out in your retailers today, and it came out in 2012, which is last year.
One more question.
Sure.
Can any quests you do hinder other players?
Yes, absolutely. It can do that. And that's kind of where there's some interaction, but it's not completely crazy interaction with other people. You're not directly attacking someone else or whatever. You just have some cards that allow you to do other things to other players. So, and that's my review of Lords of Waterdeep. I hope you learned enough about a cool game that I like playing. And next week we'll go check out another game that I like playing. There's a ton of games, I swear. If you go to my house, there's tons of games. Anyway, and that is my board game segment. This is Radio 1337 on Urban Nights Radio, the sound of artists. All right, we're back, Radio 1337. The show, Urban Nights Radio, the sound of artists. Yeah, I gotta say that whole line. I gotta say the whole line. Everything, except the show. But I'm just like, embellishing it.
You
know
love
what I mean?
saying the show, though.
Yes, I like the saying that. Well, sometimes. Anyway, apparently you have something like some kind of interview for us.
I've got a couple interviews for you, actually.
Oh, please do tell.
Well, I've talked about like my production job like here and there. I'm a sound designer and video editor for NASL, the North American Star League, and the WGLNA, the Wargaming.net League of North America.
Why don't you just put a bunch of consonants together and just call it like whatever the hell you want? Anyway, so tell me more about these guys that you're interviewing.
So the two guys I got to interview today, they're both casters at the WGLNA. Mr. Bitter is actually one of the tenured employees there. He has been casting since like the early days of the NASL, and a lot of StarCraft under like his belt. And now since it's transitioned over to working with World of Tanks, we've been doing a lot of that. Rookhill comes from Team Simp, and he is one of the seasoned scouts that is on as a commentator and advisor. So I got to sit down with both of them today and talk. Just ask them a few questions. They both went to E3. They were at the Wargaming booth. They were going around the floor, checking out stuff. So first up, I'm going to play Rookhill's segment. This is Tengu from Radio 1337, and I'm here today with Randall Rookhill Holcomb. He is one of the casters and advisors at the Wargaming.net League of North America, and I'm going to ask him a few questions about E3. All right, so Randall, first off, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Doing all right. First question I wanted to see, what was it like being at E3 this year?
E3, it was my first time being at E3.
Really?
So it was pretty intense for me. Wargaming booth, I spent most of my time there. It was pretty intense. And I visited some other booths, so it was pretty much what it had been, what it's been hyped up to be. It's very, very intense and very exciting.
That's really cool. So what did you think the highlight of E3 was this year?
Well, for me, the highlight was certainly World of Tanks and World of Warships. There's also the Xbox 360 version of World of Tanks. I'm a huge fan of all of that stuff, so I love the historical everything. There were some good booths there. I did enjoy a number of them, but I definitely enjoyed my own games booth, World of Tanks. So.
How were the Wargaming.net booth babes?
They were pretty awesome. They were very good booth babes.
Very good.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so you mentioned the Xbox 360 version of World of Tanks. On that subject, what do you think of the new consoles that are coming out?
The new consoles look very interesting. I watched both of the shows for the Xbox and the PS4, and I think Sony has done an excellent job. So you're gonna see the Microsoft guys probably reacting. So I'm thinking I might pick up the next PlayStation.
I'm on the same page with you right there. All right. So last question then is going to be, what games are you most looking forward to this year?
Okay. So first I have to start out with Rome Total War. The Rome Total War 2, I should say, because I've always liked that RTS series. It's always been fun. Always loved historical games. And then I'm also looking forward to World of Warships because I think warships are cool as all hell. So Warships, Rome 2.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sitting down with me, and take it easy.
Thanks. Take it easy yourself.
All right. So that was Rookhill, and this is going to be Mr. Bitter's segment right now. All right. This is Tengu from Radio 1337, and I'm sitting down here with Ben, Mr. Bitter Nickel, and he is of the North American Star League. Ben, how you doing today, man?
Fantastic. Thanks for taking some time to talk with me.
Thank you for sitting down.
It's always
with me
so fun to do interviews. It's like my favorite thing.
All right, so first question. So what was it like being at E3 this year?
So E3 is always sort of a crazy cluster of an event where there's like millions of industry people and lots of cool stuff going on, but it's really crowded and it's a lot of work and you work these ridiculous hours. I didn't have to do any work, so I just got to walk around and have fun, so I had a great time, but I can certainly understand why some people in the industry don't always look forward to E3 as much as the general public seems to think we do.
What do you think was the highlight of E3 this year?
Well, I mean, Sony kind of pummeled Microsoft pretty hard. That was pretty interesting to see. We already see Microsoft maybe backing up a little bit on some of their announced policies with DRM and always online and things like that. Going to be interesting to see where the next generation console war goes in light of that. For me, of course, I kind of live in the PC space. My most hyped thing is a remake of an old Dungeons and Dragons game by Capcom called Chronicles of Mystara. Came out like yesterday. I'm gonna go download it. I just remembered actually after you asked me that question that I need to go download that game and play it. But there were so many awesome games and so much really cool technology on display at E3, and it's a total blast of an event to be able to witness. So hard to pick a single highlight.
That's good.
E3 was the highlight.
E3 was the
giant
highlight.
robot they had in front of the convention hall. That was
I saw the
cool.
pictures of that. That was really
gnarly
cool.
robot.
Okay, so now, what do you think of retail employees going to E3? Do you think that it helps or hinders the purpose of E3 on the whole?
I think everybody should attend E3. Like I don't think that there's any reason why it needs to be some exclusive club. Video games are for all of us, and while E3 is certainly a big industry party, you can still have your exclusive parties in the midst of allowing retail people or the general public to experience some of the splendor that is E3. It's really fun to walk through the hall and see some of these things before anybody else does. Get kind of first eyes on something, and if retail employees want to come out, or if car salesmen want to come, I don't care. Everybody should come experience E3. Buy a ticket, come on in. That's my stance on it.
What do you think of the newest generation of consoles?
I think they are awesome. I think the hardware is fantastic. I think the games look great. I think that I think video games are going to continue to become more immersive and take up more and more of our lives as we develop better and better technology and better games. So I mean, obviously, I'm super excited, super stoked. Given what we saw at E3, I'll probably be buying a PS4 at least initially. I'm sure at some point in my life I'll own both consoles. But PS4 has a hell of a lineup coming out, and I think you really have to applaud them for the show they put on at E3. So I'm a little bit more hyped for that release than I am the Xbox.
All right. Have you heard of the Oculus Rift?
Of course, Oculus Rift, sweet kind of visor face technology.
Well, what do you think of it, and do you think it might be something that you would incorporate into your current gaming set or model?
I don't know. I every kid coming up watch the cartoons or what was that show on Nickelodeon where you go into the game and you put on the visor and you have to jump up and get the power ups?
Oh yeah, that was wasn't it just like Nick Arcade or?
It might have been Nick Arcade. I don't know, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
And so every kid that saw that was waiting for the day that you have the goggles that come down over your face and you're inside the game. In actuality, I'm not as hyped about something like the Oculus, and this might sound terrible because I know some people are super hyped for it, but the idea of having the screen in my face turns me off a little bit. However, there's no question that that kind of immersion, that level of sort of connection to the game is the future, I suppose. I'm still on the fence. I want to see how it comes out. I remember the Game Boy Color? No, that's obviously not the right thing. What was that red thing they had?
Virtual Boy?
Was that what it was?
Virtual Boy, yeah.
Virtual Boy, where you put your eyes up next to it and everything's red and you play tennis and it's
yeah, that's all that.
The cheesiest 3D you've ever seen in your life. My first reaction to the Oculus Rift is kind of like that. Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. But if it's done right and if developers run with it, because at the end of the day, the developers are going to have to be the ones that say, I want to build some software around this device. It could be really cool, and we'll see where it goes.
Last question, what games are you most looking forward to this year?
Chronicles of Mystara, the remake of the Dungeons & Dragons Capcom game that we talked about already. There are some really righteous games coming down the pipe. Is it Watch Dogs is one of them?
Yeah, Watch Dogs looked really cool.
Super good. The Division, I believe, is the other one. It's like the MMO zombie in the city game, as far as I was able to tell, looks incredible. And there's a new Castlevania game that looks really fantastic. That I don't remember the title. It's Castlevania 92 and a half or something. But really sweet trailer, and the gameplay looks pretty fun. I didn't get a chance to play it at the convention, but that looks great. And every other awesome game that's coming. There's so many really cool games on the way. So, but those are probably my top 3 for however many I named.
Once again, Mr. Bitter, thank you for your time and for your answers. Really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. Anytime.
That sounded really cool, man.
Yeah, it's funny, we just had your little rant, and yet Mr. Bitter, he seems to have a different opinion.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. My opinion stands.
He thinks it should be free for all.
You know what? He can go and revive E for All and do whatever the hell he wants. No, I'm just kidding. These are respected people in the industry, and I have to respect that. But hey, thank you very much. Thank you for getting those interviews. That's great. We're gonna have more interviews as time comes along. Time goes along. I have a whole mess of people I could interview from the game industry, and we could totally just rock this.
Yeah, I'd love to get some interviews from Clutch, Greetorp, from Rotterdam, even some of the people behind the production. Like they're all. It's a great bunch of people that I work with. And
you know
so
who I
it'd be
actually
awesome.
ran into at E3? I ran into Richard Epcar. Richard Epcar is the man who voiced the Joker in Injustice.
Wow, really?
And yes, and he's also the co-producer, as far as the co-producer, I believe, for Batman Arkham Origins. Batman Origins, I believe, is the name.
Arkham Origins.
Arkham Origins he's actually co-producing for that. So I got his card, and I've interviewed him before. He's a really cool guy. I went up to his home, and he's a big he's a big James Bond fan. Yeah, he is a big James Bond fan. Oh yeah, he's very, very cool. I'll probably get an interview with him later on, but we'll have to see because I got a lot of people lined up. But it will be really, 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 really cool to have him on the show. Anyway, so thanks for listening to us. This is our. You guys have anything to say? Anything to say? Nothing.
Well,
Nothing.
Can someone tag along with you?
Maybe.
You
Are you
interview?
it's just that? Do you even know who he is?
I want to get to know him.
God, he's married.
She's a
So?
she's a big Batman Joker fan.
Oh, it's one of those things. Like, I'm psycho,
What
so
do you
you must
mean?
like me.
Well, not so much that, but if you had Mark Hamill lined up as an interview, then she'd probably be in the back of your trunk just waiting to pop out and be like, "Oh my god."
Okay, so this is the end of Radio 1337 on UrbanNightsRadio.com, the sound of artists. And this is kind of funny.
We're
If
dangerously close right now.
if you even knew what was going on, you would laugh your heinies
Well,
off.
why don't we tell them? You're sitting in my lap right now because you decided to
Yeah.
record with a 1 gig SD card.
Okay. So maybe I did. Next time I'll have a bigger SD card,
Yeah, I bet.
and
you-
That's
I'll
what she
show
said.
you my SD card. just like I'm gonna Smurf Lola when I go up to Northern California. Ha ha ha! All right, so this is Radio 1337. We are out, and to my right is
Tengu.
Tengu. Really close to my right, and then and over across the table is
Raina.
whoa! What is it? Marina. So
I'm just observing what's across me.
well, thank you, Raina, for joining us today on this lovely program on this great Southern California afternoon. And we'll see you next week on Urban Nights Radio on Radio 1337. Peace!
Peace out.
It was a game.